It's difficult not to get sucked into the world that's been created, and that's because developer The Game Kitchen have gifted unto us this intricate macabre world, presenting both the familiar and the foreign. We once more stand on the precipice of contemplation, gazing upon the forthcoming opus Blasphemous 2, born from the symphonic minds of The Game Kitchen, the very architects who bequeathed unto us the enigmatic parable that was Blasphemous 1. As the luminal residue of the Penitent One's sojourn continues to resonate within the corridors of our musings, a weighty inquiry presents itself. Is this the divine sequel I was looking for, or does it make an unholy misstep? A thank you to the publisher for the review copy. My name's Mark Walker, welcome back to SwitchUp, and now let us find out. Blasphemous had an excellent storyline. The city and its inhabitants look to the skies where the miracle has formed a large beating heart. It is said that a child is due to be birthed, and all the while the Penitent One lays in his grave. Rather than traverse up into those upper echelons, he has to defeat the three guardians who are holding that citadel high in the sky if he is to discover what the miracle has in store. The gameplay has seen a number of refinements, and this is instantly evident with the weapon selection right at the start of the game. Each of the three main weapons, of which you can only choose one, has a skill attached. First up there's Veredicto, the heavy weapon. This slower, more devastating weapon can be swung into bells, sending waves of resonance that will activate hidden platforms and unlock doors. You can also hold the Y button down to activate Thunder of Mercy, a much more powerful move that has a shorter range of attack, or it can be set ablaze using the acquired fervor. The swift dagger-like Sarmiento and Centella allow for a swift flurry of attacks and teleport using these. And finally, we have Rego al Alba. This longer sword allows for blocking and counter-attacks and performing what's known as the Blood Pact. You can also do a downward smash from height, breaking otherwise impassable barriers. And all three weapons have their own skill tree, and defeating enemies will grant you the game's currency, and occasionally you'll earn marks of martyrdom. These can be used in a number of ways, not least of which is upgrading those weapons. Blasphemous 2 sees a number of enemies returning from the first title, but there are a good number of new ones, and they're designed to be tackled with certain weapons. This makes the combat more enjoyable as you switch between them, and it removes some of the potential repetition in that area. I still feel like you see the same enemies a bit too often, and it becomes learning those patterns by rote. But with its improved platforming, the double jump and the evade move, you're usually able to skip past if it's becoming a bit tedious. The healing items make a return, as do the prayers, which are essentially spells, and use your fervor to activate. They come in two forms: chants and quick verses, the latter of which seemed much more useful, while the former a little cumbersome to activate, which in a game as fast paced as this means you end up not using them. At the heart of this sprawling Metroidvania sequel is the City of the Blessed Name. It is literally at the heart of the game, and it's where you'll discover the first Gate of Hands, where you can fast travel between any you've unlocked. Resting at shrines recovers your health, as well as replenishing those vials and regenerating any lesser enemies. The best Metroidvanias know how to do platforming really well, and it was okay in Blasphemous, but not particularly standout, and that's changed here. Having the three different weapons, which are often tied to puzzle solving and platforming, and needing to quickly switch between them to complete certain rooms, it's a much tighter design. There are some clever lateral thinking moments, but primarily it's fluid and easy to understand how you can apply these new skills and abilities to the areas you've previously visited without a huge amount of backtracking, at least not manually, mainly due to sensible placement of fast travel points. If you're like me, then you're going to be venturing off the beaten path, and certain combat instances will see you sealed into a room with rounds of enemies spawning in, and you doing your damnedest to try and survive. This is where, if you're lucky, you'll get your execution move. Sometimes an enemy will be stunned, and pressing ZL allows you to, well, do this. Or something similar. There are upgrades that you can tie to this, such as replenishing your health, and in that regard, the rosary beads from the first game make a return. These can be switched in and out to your character, as can the altar pieces, and there are a number of other weird and wonderful encounters, and even those who you can fight alongside, with one offering assistance in boss battles, if you so choose. I've done my damnedest not to say Souls-like or Metroidvania, but this is a hybrid of those things, and that's most evident in the boss encounters. And it takes me on to an interesting point, that being the difficulty. And I have to say, having played quite a few Souls-likes, Blasphemous 2 is middle of the road. It's actually not too bad at all. And once again, the punishment for death is that your fervor meter will drop in size, with a specific location where you can purchase forgiveness and have this restored. Fans of the genre are going to dive headfirst into Blasphemous 2 and find more than enough refinement and new content. With that said, it is a little safe at times, even down to relying on many of the enemies from the first game, but then the world building and platforming, as well as the weapons themselves, make for a more enjoyable experience. Story and gameplay combined score 18 out of 20. The platforming controls are a big improvement, and controls score 18 out of 20 as well. Blasphemous 2 is a lovely looking game. The level of detail within its pixel art world and its many and varied animations go hand in hand to give a real sense of place. Not all the changes are quite as positive for me. Some of the cutscenes, I think I just preferred those originals that used almost an animated pixel style. It's still used on characters throughout the game, but there was something macabre about them that I think worked maybe a little better than some of these animated ones. The soundtrack, well, take a listen. From an audio standpoint, Blasphemous 2 is a lovely game to listen to. I enjoy this creepy, ethereal voice acting. Sure, it's a little hammy, but we're all accustomed to it now, and it does suit the game perfectly. And as for performance, well, I haven't had a single crash. It does run at 60 frames per second in both docked and handheld. However, one of the later areas does suffer a little slowdown, but honestly, it's nothing to write home about. Visuals and performance combined, they score 18 out of 20. Sound and audio scores 19 out of 20. Blasphemous 2 is a more replayable game, and I think your first run could take you 20 to 30 hours depending on your skill level and how many little secrets you go looking for. As far as content goes, I think there's far more than that, and it retails at £24.99 or your regional equivalent, and there is a physical available as well. But up until release on the 24th, there's also a 10% discount if you're buying it digitally. To squeeze it onto your Switch's SD card is going to take 2.2 gigs, and to squeeze it in your backlog is probably going to take a monumental effort. But should you do it? Well, Yeah, unfortunately you probably should. Does it feel a little bit safe? Yeah, it does, but they have improved quite a few areas, and there's a lot of content to sink your teeth into. Its price does put it at the premium end for the Metroidvania and Souls-like genre, at around 20% more expensive than something like Death's Gambit Afterlife, and over double the price of Hollow Knight, but that's an unfair comparison. It offers good value, and scores 16 out of 20. If you enjoyed the first game, then you will definitely enjoy this. There's a lot to love here. Personally, I would have liked to have seen a little more variety with the enemies, and maybe a few more risks taken with the overall formula, but in fairness, there are some real refinements and improvements to those platforming mechanics and the combat alike. Blasphemous 2 gets a SwitchUp score of 89%. Once again, a thanks to the publisher for the review copy. If you want to save some money on your eShop credit, you can use code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg, and you'll get 5% off instantly and 5% back in coins, so you can get this one for a little chunk less than the asking price, and we get a little kickback from Nintendo. Happy days. Thanks to our Patreons and our members, and to all of you that enjoy the content. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!